Welcome everyone to today's webinar on Microsoft FRX for financial reporting. Today's webinar is about consolidating reporting for us inside FRX. My name is Noah Moseley. I'll be working through this webinar with you today. A little bit about the MSX group. We are a consulting practice and we specialize in FRX, Forecaster, and Management Reporter for the Dynamics family of products, ASGP, NAV, and SL, although FRX is also used by a lot of other general ledger packages, and we still do support all those in the community using FRX. So if you need us after today's webinar, we still have training classes, webinars like this that we offer consulting services. If you need help with installation work with FRX or building reports inside FRX, or software support, we do offer annual contracts for FRX. Feel free to get those details on our website at msxgroup.com. And if you want to email me, my email is noah.moseley@msxgroup.com, and I'll email out this PowerPoint presentation after today's session as well. For consolidations using FRX. When you are running financial statements inside FRX, FRX only pulls balances from one company at a time. So whatever company you're logged into, or if you're looking at the catalog ID, whichever company is showing in the drop-down list at the top left on the report tab. So only one company at a time when you're running financial reports out of FRX. And the only other way to get more balances from different companies into the same report would be to use a financial reporting tree. So when I do this example inside FRX, I'll be using a reporting tree to pull balances back from two different companies and include those on one financial statement. Some companies also use elimination companies. So in this example, we do not have a separate elimination company, but if you did have that as a third company in your reporting tree, you would just have the two main companies, and the third one would be the elimination company to pull back those entries into your statements as well. If you do not use an eliminating company at your location, you may have eliminating entries that are posted to separate elimination accounts, or those balances for elimination might be tagged with an elimination dimension ID or segment ID, and all those will need those to pull those or back those out of the consolidated reports. We're going to be using an income statement for this demonstration. We will have a reporting tree that will consolidate balances from two companies that we have there. We'll be using the FW, the Fabricam company, and the FWC company, which is our Canadian company inside FRX. In our column layout, we're going to use hidden columns to pull back balances for the two separate companies, and also a column that will be hidden that will back out the elimination entries. And then a calculated column that takes the company balances, subtracts out the eliminations, and displays the results. Now let me take us over to FRX, and we'll look at that inside the application as I go through this process. So I've got on my screen an income statement and a catalog ID open. And let me just run this. I'm looking at let's switch this to the FW company. Run this report. When this income statement generates for us, it's very simple, very straightforward. Just our revenue through net income, year-to-date balances. This is for the FW company, Fabricam. And just notice at the bottom, we've got a $971,000 net income. All that money is from that one company. So anytime I run this without a reporting tree, it is only showing balances from that one company that we're looking at. If I close out of this report we just ran, and I switch the company from FW to FWC, run that same report again. The net income at the bottom, $80,000. This is just from the Canadian company. To keep this simple, we're assuming that everything entered in the U.S. company and everything entered in the Canadian company is all U.S. dollars. So I'm not worrying about currency conversions at this point. It's just for getting these balances from the two companies into one report. When we look at the column layout here, we have just two columns, description column on the left, year-to-date on the right. I'm going to end up adding some hidden columns to this column layout, and we'll show you that after I start the reporting tree. So to get one report that pulls balances back from multiple companies, you've got to have a reporting tree. So I'm going to start as a brand new tree for us. And we're just going to have 3 rows here. The summary row at the top. This is our consolidated total from the 2. And I'm going to pull balances back from the FW company. That is from Fabricam US. And from FWC. Fabricam Canada. And again, some companies do have a separate elimination company. If you did that, on this 4th row, I would just reference that elimination company here. For this example, we're just going with these 2. We do not have a separate company. We're saying that all of our elimination entries are just going to be posted to a separate segment ID. And column G, I need to put in some account mask. Everything, all my account numbers are in my row format. And then everything else is just wildcarded here. So no limits here. The only thing this reporting tree is telling us is which companies we're going to include in the totals, and that account mask that says that we're listing the account numbers in the row format. We'll go ahead and save this as our consolidation. And now that I've got this reporting tree created and saved, I'll use this in our catalog ID, and I'll also reference this in our column layout. So back in the catalog ID, I just created that reporting tree, so I want to reference that here in the catalog ID at the bottom left. I'll check this box, and I'll select the tree that I just created for the consolidation. Now, if I run the report right now, it will pull back balances from both those companies and add them all together. And I'll just run this so you can see that. You would have separate reports as well as the consolidation at the top. So I do have 1.51 million here at the bottom for net income. But what I have not taken into account so far is backing out the eliminations. So I'll handle all of that in the column layout. I'll jump back over here. Let's go look at the column layout, and we'll make some changes to take into account the eliminations. So I'm going to make changes here where I have a column that will pull back balances from the US company, another column that will pull back balances from the Canadian company, a third column that will pull back just the elimination entries, those balances. Those 3 columns will actually eventually be hidden. And then a 4th column that will take the first 2 columns, add those together, and subtract out the eliminations. So going across here, I'll have 3 GL columns and a calculated column. I'm using all of these as year-to-date, so I'll change these out. Columns B, C, and D, those will eventually be non-printing, but I won't hide those until I run the report, see how it looks, and then I'll go back and hide that when I'm finished. Column B will be our FW company, the US. Column C will pull back balances from the Canadian company, and I'll use column D for pulling back the eliminations. Now if I run the report right now, the headers are different, but the balances for columns B, C, and D will pull back the exact balances, the same balances in every column. I need to tell column B to only pull back balances from the U.S. company and column C from the Canadian company. And to do that, about halfway down, I've got an option that says reporting unit. This row here, I can use this drop-down arrow and tie that to the reporting tree that I just built for consolidations. So in column B, I'll click that to bring up my list of reporting trees that are available. I'll pick the one that I just created for consolidations. And in this tree, column B will only pull back balances from the U.S. company. And I'll do the exact same thing for column C, except for Canada. Just widen this a little bit so you can see what's in here. I'm not very pretty about how it lists that in column B for that reporting unit row, but it understands what that represents in the reporting tree. Consol is the top part of the reporting tree, and FW is the US part of the reporting tree. Column C, I'll just widen that so we can see it better. I will use that drop down arrow to pick from this reporting tree the Canadian piece. So now column B only pulls back the US balances, column C only pulls back the Canadian balances. Column D right now would pull back balances from either company so far. And what I'm going to use column D for is just to pull back the elimination balances. And again, if I had a separate company for eliminations, I would have that listed in the reporting tree as a separate company. And I would do the same thing for column D that I did for column C and B. I would just pick from the reporting tree that elimination company. For this example, we don't have that. So further down the list, I have an option for account filters. In this example, I'm going to say that any balance that was posted as an elimination entry will be posted to Department 2000. Usually I have companies post balances to like 999 for elimination entries, so it's easy to spot. It's at the end of the numbers. But for this example here, I'm using anything posted to the Department 2000 as elimination entries. And for column D, I'll just go in here. I'll use question marks as wildcards for the account number. And the account numbers are handled in the row definition. I'm going to pull back only balances that are posted to the 2000 department. And that third segment, I'll use question marks again as a wild card. So now that new column D for eliminations, it will run for whatever company is out there in the reporting tree, but it only pulls back balances from that department. And again, for this example, those are my elimination entries. In column E, which is the column that will eventually be the one that's not hidden, I have a calculated column type. And the formula, I'll just add columns B and C together and subtract anything that comes back from column D. Go ahead and save all those changes here. Next, I'll go back to the catalog ID. I'll run this report again. All these columns will be displayed just to show us how the balances look when it generates. Then I'll come back here and hide those middle columns. This icon right here takes me back to the catalog I've got open. I did go ahead, I picked the tree I had earlier. I'll save that change. Generate this report again for us. That runs the report. It ran for everything in the reporting tree, both companies and the consolidation. So now if I look in column, the second column, FW, that's our U.S. balances. I've got 971,000 at the bottom for net income showing. Canada, only the 80,000. Elimination entries in the ELIM column. And the year-to-date calculated column just takes U.S. plus Canada and subtracts out the eliminations. Now I'll go back, I'll hide those three columns in the middle and run this report one more time for us. Column B, C, and D, these are the ones I want to hide or set to non-printing for us. So that's a print control for us, about halfway down these columns. Set those to NP for non-printing. Now my formula in column E refers to those columns specifically, so it will pick up the balances even though these columns are set to non-printing. Range formulas would skip those balances, so ranges do not include any balances from non-printing columns or rows. So you can only include those balances in calculations if you specifically reference that letter code for the column or the row code specifically. Okay, but we're fine here because these are those columns are hidden, but they are referred to specifically in the calculation. Go back, save that. Go back to the catalog ID that still have open. And let's run this report one more time for us. Back to that income statement that we started with. 2 columns, description on the left, year-to-date on the right. The non-printing columns are adding up correctly and backing out the eliminations. So our net income at the bottom, $1.3 million for us. Again, in order to get these balances onto one report from all those separate companies, you had to have a reporting tree that pointed to the separate companies. And then we had to make change to the column layout so that we had different columns pulling from the different parts of the reporting tree, the different companies, and a column backing out the elimination entries. Just to jump back and look at those changes we did in the column definition, column layout. Our U.S. company in column B, we use reporting unit about halfway down to point to that particular company in the reporting tree. The Canadian company column C pointed to that part of the reporting tree for Canada. And then in column D, we did not have a separate elimination company. Instead, we used a separate department to post all of our elimination entries. Those 3 columns are set to non-printing for, so they do not show up on the report. And the balance that does show up is column E, which is our calculated consolidation, adding up the balance from U.S. plus Canada minus eliminations. And if I go back and look at the reporting tree, very simple. We just had 3 rows here. We had our consolidation row at the top, pulling back from at any, so it includes balances from any company that's listed in this reporting tree. We limited this to the FW company on the 2nd row and the Canadian company on the 3rd row. And in column G, we did not have any kind of limits here. We pulled back balances from any department in any location, and the ampersand says that these first 4 numbers are listed in the row format as the account numbers. Back in the catalog ID, I did pick the reporting tree at the bottom here, our console tree. There is a setting on report options and then tree options. And you can have this so that I've got it set where it includes all units as soon as I click generate, so I don't have to select what parts of the tree I want to run it for after I click generate. There's also the option that says include specific number of levels. So I probably would never really care about seeing that Canadian company all by itself or the U.S. company all by itself. If that's the case, you can select this bottom part and leave this field blank. When I click generate the report, that runs automatically, does not prompt me for anything in the reporting tree, and I have the top consolidated report available. Those other 2, I can't drill down onto those separately. Some people do like to see those separately, so if you do like those all by themselves on a separate page, you can keep that option on that tab for the reporting tree settings. And again, that was in the catalog ID under report options and then tree options, and I changed it from include all units just to include a specific number of levels and set that to 0. A lot of things we ran through for that consolidation there. If you need help with anything for consolidation or help with FRX after this webinar today, my email is noah.moseley@msxgroup.com. We've got our message boards on our website at http://boards.msxgroup.com, a whole section there about FRX where you are available to see what other people have posted, what we posted, and contribute yourself. We have a few events that we go through throughout the year and present. We had an online forum for FRX earlier this year in March. We did a whole day of training, different sessions for beginners, different sessions for more advanced topics. We did record those and we had those on our website. So if you go to our msxgroup.com website /FFMR2016, you'll find the PowerPoints that we uploaded there, as well as any questions that people asked, and the videos as well. We have additional FRX webinars coming up. Those are listed on our website as well, our msxgroup.com/Microsoft-FRX-webinars. And if you're looking to meet us in person, our next one we will be at will be Tampa. That is going to be in October, and we do that for the AXUG and GPUG Summit. I think we also have Derek, who's out of San Diego, at Amplify. Well, there's a conference in California next week, and then I think Nick will be in Chicago in a couple of weeks. But feel free to get in touch with us if you need additional information about FRX. That's what we do every day here. We'll be glad to help with the community. Appreciate you joining us, and I'll switch over now and take questions if we have anything in the chat box and question box.